This debt, this destruction.
Global news impacts us.
We have to change the way we live.
This is why we need independent media.
Cheers and salutations. Welcome to another episode of Hard Lens Media. We are so grateful and thankful that all of you are so faithful in joining us here today. And today is going to be a very special interview because, look, we here at Hard Lens Media believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We have talked about supporting and the need for independence and third parties, especially in this day and age of the frauds that are in the Democratic and Republican Party. As we have said before, there's a whole system in place at the state and federal level that prevent third parties from being on a debate stage, from being able to, for voters to be able to vote on. And the thing is, this has to change. In other democracies and other republics, we see the rise of third parties. So joining me now, second time on the show, none other than a strong proponent of the Libertarian Party and also even trying to secure the Libertarian Party in the great state of New York. Joining me here is Larry Sharpe. Larry, welcome to the show. It's been a while. How are you doing?
It's been a minute. Thank you so much for having me back again. I appreciate it, brother. I'm happy to be here.
Well, so first and foremost, I think it's only important for us to really get started in regards towards the work that you're doing in New York State. Now, for those who don't know, you have ran for ran as a Libertarian for governor in New York State. And I think we should just readdress this. But the overall political environment and roadblocks that are in New York State to prevent from third parties from being on the ballot on the debate stage, has that improved? What kind of legal actions are being done to secure there to be a platform for libertarians, to dare say it, other third parties for New York voters to vote on? What's the overall situation on the ground there in New York State?
It is very bad and desperate, to be very forward with you. I wish I had better news for you. Now, I do have some news that's good, but overall, it's really bad. We've gone to court more than one time, actually about 8 times total we've been in court, and we've lost every time, to include so far 5 appeals, both at the state and the federal level. One of the hardest things we have to do is keep pushing on and keep finding money to keep supporting, lawyers and good lawyers to give their time, money, and energy to doing this. It's very challenging because, as you could imagine, I come to you and I say, Kit, do me a favor, and I need you to, give me some money so I can, do this lawsuit. And you go, Larry, I love you. Absolutely. Here's $100. Thanks, man. Well, we lose. I come back, Kit, another $100. Come on, one more time. You go, okay, you know what? I trust you, Larry. Go ahead. Now it's the 5th, 6th, or 7th time. At that point, you go, Larry, I love you, but not that much. So it really becomes a point to where you don't want to throw good money after bad. So raising money to find the lawyers to do this can be very challenging. Are we doing it on our own anyway? Yes. Are we creating coalitions? Yes, because the reality of it is the Green Party is with us on this, right? They've also been wrecked in New York State because of the legal issues. And what winds up happening, and for those of you who've ever been involved in third parties, once the state decides to crush you, as it did in New York State, and once we start having failures, you start losing not only donors, but more importantly, volunteers and supporters. They begin to say, why bother? And you can see that in New York, in both Libertarian and Green parties. Our parties are hurting tremendously in this state. And the reason is we keep losing, and they keep saying why. So Libertarians are either checking out or literally moving out of the state. And a lot of Greens have actually moved over to the DSA because they think, DSA, yes, they have, because they feel like, I can get something done in the DSA. I can't get anything done in the Green Party. Now,
wait, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off here, but getting anything done in the DSA, I mean, look, I've seen some of their videos. I'm surprised.
I didn't say it was accurate, Kit.
All right. Please continue on. Please, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you just mentioned DSA and them getting things done. Like, what? All right, continue on.
But they are, though, in one way, right? If you're trying to work for the Green Party, it's very hard to make anything, to get anyone even to have a win. But if you move to, say, the Working Families Party in New York State, you still don't get it done because they're just a puppet of the Democratic Party. They're a parasite party, right? Yes. But if you go to the DSA, at least you get people who have DSA approved. You do get something for your efforts. And I feel if you're a volunteer, particularly, you want to get something for your efforts. And I get that. Look, I'd rather have a Green Party than a DSA within the Democratic Party. I agree with you. I'm just saying I understand the person on the street trying to get something done. I get why they do what they do, I guess is my point.
I understand. I understand it, but it is rather odd that people would want to go to DSA to think anything can get done. But nonetheless,
I think Cornel West is doing a good job here for the Greens, though, right?
Well,
this goes back to the third party piece.
Mhm.
People like Cornel West remotivate people, right? Now, all of a sudden, all these people in the Green Party in New York State who are like, whatever. Here comes Cornel West. And go, whoa, wait a minute. Do we have a shot at making something happen? Okay, what happened now? Now, all of a sudden, it wakes them up.
Well, I have to agree with that because again, let's face it, the Green Party in 2020 had a very mediocre campaign with Howie Hawkins. It was nowhere on par to what Dr. Jill Stein had in 2016.
True.
But with Dr. Cornel West running, and I think we should just go right into this one. We are seeing an intensified attack towards him by corporate media. The national magazine not only has been doing smear pieces towards him, but they did a ridiculous piece in regards to saying why Dr. Cornel West should run in a Democratic primary. And then we're seeing all these hit pieces from CNN and MSNBC saying Dr. Cornel West is going to be the spoiler candidate. If you vote for Dr. Cornel West, you're going to help Trump. It's the same propaganda we've heard in 2016, 2020, but we've been hearing this before, even with the race between George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton, and Ross Perot. A third-party candidate will be a spoiler. But I want to get your thoughts on that because there have been an intensified attack towards Dr. Cornel West, and eventually it will be towards libertarians too, about third parties being spoilers. Go on.
Yeah, the number one reason here is because of what's called sore loser laws. Your audience may or may not know that, but once you get to a certain point and you've run in a major party's primary, there are many states that literally bar you from running independent third party. You cannot. The law's against you. It's called the sore loser law. Well, you lost this one, that means you can't run someplace else. So if Cornel West runs a Democratic primary, he'll lose because the Bidenites will make sure he loses. Now they've gotten rid of him, right? But if he runs and he can't run third party, if he loses, he's out, he's done. But if he runs third party, he might actually be on the ballot in November. That's why they're so extra mad at him. RFK Jr. at least is playing their game. So at least with him, if the Bidenites get rid of him, then he's gone, he's finished. But Cornel West keeps going. Cornel West might actually get on the ballot in November at the end of next year. That's why they're so mad at him compared to RFK Jr. Because of those sore loser laws.
Right, and I do know from research from last election cycle, and then of course in 2016, the Greens and Libertarians, respectively, in their own right, were able to get onto 47 to 49 states during the last two election cycles, the presidential election cycles, and I think that's
Libertarians had all 50.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, in 20.
Okay, thank you.
In 2016 and 2020. At the moment, it doesn't look like we're going to have all of them, but we still might. Depends. That's part of my quest in New York State. New York State is, to be forward, the Greens and the Libertarians are still doing another lawsuit. They're still fighting again. They are still trying to get it done. But to be forward with you, I have very little hope in actually winning a legal battle. So I'm trying to actually fight their rules. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to gather everyone together to get an independent party on the ballot next year. Now, the weird part in New York State is you have to have a candidate before the parties have picked their candidate. Okay. That's how backward the rules are. So if you want to be a party in New York State, you have to get your candidate on the ballot before your candidate's picked. I know, impossible. So I will literally in April have to put myself on the ballot as the interim presidential candidate only in New York State, only in one state, because I'm not running it. I'm not filing FEC because it's not federal. It's just in the state. So officially, I'll be running for president in New York State only until now we have a candidate that we want to put in that place, and I'll swap out. Obviously, I'll want a nationwide candidate. But I have to do that. So I have to do that. I have to gather literally thousands of volunteers, raise $500,000, and get 60,000 signatures, 45 officially, but really 60,000 because of all the battling they're doing. 60,000 signatures in 6 weeks during a time in New York State where we still have snowstorms. That's what we have to do. That is 10,000 a week, 2,000 a day, and an average good petitioner. If you're really good, you will get maybe 100 a day. If you're really good, the average petitioner only gets about 25 to 50. That's it. So that means I need somewhere between 40 and 60 people to volunteer and or pay them to work 10 hours a day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks straight during a time in New York State where there are snowstorms. That is how we have to do it in New York State. And if you get them early, they don't count. So I can't start now. If you get them later, they don't count. So it can't start now. And they have to be registered voters, and you cannot sign more than one.
Huh.
So
Wow.
that means now if I want to, plus somebody else wants to, I must have two. I now need 120,000 signatures in 6 weeks. Yes.
So, well, no one ever said it was going to be easy, but I always thought Illinois.
It's impossible.
No, well, the thing is, like,
Yes.
I've always said, like, Illinois had it pretty rough, but wasn't aware of all of that in regards to that situation for
Yes.
libertarians, especially to secure one's name on the ballot. So I think this does bring up a good segue into the fact that we need to address the libertarian primary, because we know right now that the Greens have Dr. Cornel West. I believe Howie Hawkins could be potentially running in for another chance to get the nomination. I will be surprised if Dr. Cornel West doesn't secure the Green Party nomination. But in regards to the Libertarian Party, who is running, and what will be the overall consensus, or when will there be a final, I guess, nomination process for who the candidate will be? Because obviously you're just holding the banner in New York State, but there's 49 other states, and each rules are different. I think the time is of the essence to have a nominee sooner rather than later. So what's the situation with the Libertarian Party for that?
The Libertarian Party does this very poorly. I wish we did it better. And we do it poorly because two things we do. One, we do a convention, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, we officially have debates and such at local, each state has its own party. Obviously, there's a state affiliate in a Libertarian Party state affiliate in every state, but none of those delegates are bound by anything. So literally they could do their own voting in the state, and the candidate could win the state. Doesn't matter. Delegates go, and they're not bound. They can vote for whomever they want, whenever they want. And we do it, sadly, I guess the worst part is we do it in May of the year, late May, in the year of the election. This is a terrible idea, and I hope we change it. It's not a good idea. So now by the time the person gets the nomination, it's June 1. That's way too late to be running for an election in November, but it is what we do. So right now there are 4 people running who are actually, 3 who are actually spending money and actually campaigning. One of them is a gentleman named Chase Oliver. Chase Oliver ran in Georgia. He's the reason for the senatorial runoff in Georgia last year. That was because of his candidacy. He was a third party. He was the, quote, spoiler. That's what he was in that election. That's how effective he was. Another guy is a guy named Lars Mapstead. Lars Mapstead's out of California. As I said, Chase is out of Georgia. He's a tech guy who made a bunch of money in the tech world, and he is now running, also very active. He's going to be at Freedom Fest coming up here. He'll be on stage with Larry Elder and some other people trying to make some moves at Freedom Fest here in Memphis next week. And the last one is a guy named Mike Termott. He's originally out of Virginia. He ran for office in Florida when he was there. He's a former economist and actually a former cop, now running also. Those are 3 people they've all raised 6 figures, which for a Libertarian presidential candidate in a primary is a big deal. And they're all actively out campaigning, doing the podcast circuit, trying to get on TV, doing events. Those are the 3 who are doing it right now. A lot of people thought other people would jump in, and they might. Here's the problem with our party. The odds of us getting 50 state ballot access are the highest of all the third parties. We are the largest by body count, the largest third party in the United States. So the odds are high that we'll get it. So maybe around December or January, someone else will go, oh, I would love to run for president. And they'll jump on board and try to take our line. That has happened in the past, and it may happen again. Now, there are 2 other options out there, though, for people that weren't out there before. One is the Forward Party. However, the Forward Party has already agreed they're not going to run a presidential candidate. So the odds are the Forward Party tends to be just anti-Trump. So they'll probably back anyone who they think can win who's not Trump. So they'll probably back whoever is the Democratic nominee, is my assumption. That's who they'll back, because they don't have 50 state ballot access. The other one is No Labels. No Labels right now is not a party; it's a PAC.
Yeah,
and No Labels.
Yeah,
No
and
Labels
I
over
have
$100
my
million.
criticism of that organization. It's just Democratic and Republican establishment people who are
100%.
who I fear will taint the name of third parties. But there is a lot of ground that third parties are gaining, including the Libertarian Party. And I will want to bring this up. I mean, you could comment on it if you want to, but this is in regards to what's happening in the state of Iowa, which is now the Iowa Libertarians are an official party for the 2024 election. And the thing is, maintaining it is another thing altogether. Now, I talked about this on a previous show, but that is some groundbreaking work there, especially for a third party. Now, in Colorado, for example, again, I'm not asking for your commentary on this, but you know, the Colorado Libertarian Party made a deal with the GOP or the Republican.
Terrible deal.
Republican
I'll give
Party.
you my comment. Terrible
All right,
deal.
Sure. Go ahead. I'll actually pull this up here just so that people could see it. The Libertarians in Colorado made a deal with the GOP where they'll stand down.
Boo. Terrible deal.
Let's get your thoughts on it. How do you really feel?
Oh my God! Look, if you want to be a Republican, just be a Republican. Some people think Republicans are great. I don't know why, but they do. So go be a Republican. Then it's fine. But don't be a Libertarian if you want to be a Republican. Just be a Republican. Third parties are different, and we have to show your point on no labels is on the money, brother. Exactly correct. They are absolutely just shills. They're just, well, we don't like this Republican, so we'll put our Republican up. We don't like this Democrat, so we'll put our Democrat up. 100%. At least forward, if they run a candidate, I hope they'll be actual candidates. I don't know that yet. We'll see what forward becomes. I hope they become something like that. But the Greens and Libertarians, we actually run candidates. Like Cornel West is not a Democrat. He's running as a Green Party member. Yes, that's a good thing. I want third parties running. You don't break the system by going, well, if you're good enough, we'll acquiesce. That's a terrible idea. As far as Iowa goes, you are correct also. Good deal. Happy to make it happen. But you're right. You have to keep it. In New York State, as I mentioned, if we get our 60,000, 45,000 signatures, we now have to get 2% of the vote in November, which will be somewhere around 130 to 150,000 votes. Now, in New York State as a third party, that's not that hard, believe it or not, because there are about 18 million New Yorkers. So it isn't that hard to get that many. You can do it. I did it when I ran last time. I got 2% last time I ran. So it can be done. It's just challenging. The problem is I was the first person to do it ever in 50 years of the Libertarian Party existing in New York State. So it had only been done one time, and it was just me. I was the only guy to do it. And then they changed the rules and threw our party off. So that is a concern, that once you get it, can you keep it? I think, again, you're exactly right. Iowa has to work for it.
Yeah, in Illinois, the Green Party was recognized until 2010 when the rules were changed and so much more happened, which is a terrible thing to really see, especially when third parties sacrifice so much, especially with the volunteers. Now, I want to switch things up here because you're doing this outstanding outreach program, or at least having different people on your show as well.
Yes,
progressives, independents, libertarians, conservatives, liberals, etc. But, I guess we got to give a huge shout out to a fellow New Yorker, Roger Meadows, because you're talking about citizen ballot initiatives,
100%.
Public banks. And when I've brought this up, especially to a lot of my colleagues or friends, here in Chicago, when I talk about public banks and some of the work that you're doing, one person said in particular, wait, he's a libertarian. Why are you talking about public banks? Why would he do that? Because obviously there's the propaganda around so much in regards to how people view libertarians or Greens or independents. But why is it that you've taken an interest into public banks, citizen ballot initiatives, and sharing them with other people? But also, I do want you to give a chance to talk about this awesome event that you got called Freedom Fest. I had to do Freedom Fest like that voice because it deserved Freedom Fest. So let's first address citizen ballot initiatives and public banks. Why are you talking about them, and why has Roger Meadows convinced you that it's good?
Well, the funny part is I do want more direct democracy, right? That's always going to be a better way of doing things. And many times people get upset at me and go, well, Larry, direct democracy can be bad too. Yes, democracy can be bad. We can make bad votes. We can make bad decisions. And I think direct democracy will also have some bad things. It won't be perfect. But at least with more direct democracy, one, we're voting for it directly, so we are responsible for our own actions. And two, we also are able to change it with our own actions also. Right now, most laws are put together because the elites decide so and never go away no matter how bad they are. at least with direct democracy, if we are picking bad laws, at least we're picking them, right? And Gandhi said it. He said anybody would rather have their own bad government over the good government of an alien power. And yes, that's right. I'd rather have my own bad government than my overlords dictated to me. So when it comes to ballot initiatives, I think Roger's 100% correct. We should be focusing on that. And right now, how we do it in New York is officially we do have it, officially. But it's only if the assembly agrees.
Why is it set that way for only the assembly to agree?
Because we don't want the plebes figuring this stuff out. Get chumps like me and you. We can't figure this out. Only our elite overlords can tell us what we can vote on or not. And I wish I was joking. I'm not. That's how they actually feel. So that's the reason why. So I think he's right. We have to move towards that. And there are two different ways you can do it. You can do it to where it becomes a law, or you can do it to where it actually becomes an amendment. Now, I agree that you should have both. I think Roger's correct in that, but I'm also okay accepting just the law. I'm okay because some people might think that's too far. I will take that if that makes any sense. I don't have to push. Roger was mad at me if he's listening right now. No, you got to go all the way. I know he wants to go all the way. I agree with him, but I would take not amendment, just law. I would take it to move. I want New Yorkers to get used to this. We're not used to this. I want us to become used to it. So I would take it.
Because you do bring up a good point of New Yorkers, but dare I say even Americans to get used to it, because for a long time there's been this massive political burnout by voters who feel like it doesn't matter, or either that there's always been a lack of engagement in regards towards politics by the American people, because corporate media and the two-party system said just trust everything, leave it alone, and you could have a nonchalant attitude for the entire political system. And I think we as voters have to break out of that mindset and train our minds, and dare I say it, reform ourselves so that we are actively engaged in the political process in this country at the state level, at the federal level. And that's also a good turn into Freedom Fest. What's that all about? Tell us what Freedom Fest is all about.
Let me, if I could, let me give you one more advantage of the Citizen Initiative.
Okay, go ahead.
Because the elites can't just control it, whether left or right. And the example is in a place like Kansas, right? They can actually make sure that they don't ban abortions with citizen initiatives, that they actually are able to keep a woman's right to choose. In New York, we can get school choice, right? If you did an initiative right now in New York, you'd get school choice. If you did it in Kansas, which they did, you would protect abortion. So both of those things are not what the elites of either state wants, but the people of those states do want. It's a perfect example of what would happen if you have citizen initiatives. The actual people get what they want, whether you want them or not. And again, say you don't want that. Say you don't want school choice. Say you don't want abortion protected in Kansas. Well, then you have to convince your citizen that your idea is right. Get out there and convince your citizens that your idea is right, and then they'll vote and you'll get what you want. But if that's what the people want, they should be able to get it. I then want to shift now, if I could, to public banks. Public banks are very controversial in the libertarian world. A lot of people think I'm crazy for thinking about it. But the reason why I'm okay with public banks is I can't see any other way to establish actual localism again. And this again goes back to more direct local democracy. Public banks allow local communities to open up their own businesses, to open up their own credit unions. It allows for co-op banking. It allows for co-ops in general, which I want voluntary co-ops. I do not want mandatory co-ops. I'm not a socialist, but I do believe that people should be able to co-op if they want to. Voluntary socialism is perfect. I have no problem with that. You choose to, you think it's a good idea for yourself, you should be able to do so. I also want to create an environment to where companies that go bankrupt, there is a 30 to 60 to 90-day window, depending upon the situation, to allow workers to buy the company. Now, what bank is going to do that? None, but a public bank would. So it allows people to gain, and I'm for local co-ops, not because I like co-ops, but I'm for local co-ops because that's more direct democracy and more localism. And that's what I want. If a co-op gets me there, I'm good. Whatever gets me there, I'm good. If that means a public bank gets me there, I'm good. So I'll take the public bank to get me where I want to go, because we have to bring back community. We have to bring back localism. We have to bring back direct democracy. And we don't have that in our state at all. So that's why I jump on board. Even as a libertarian, it would seem like I shouldn't want that, but I do, because I get the reality of my world this is what will get me to what I want, which I think is better for everybody. So that's why I'm in there.
And I have to say I'm in full support of that because again, we need to break down these barriers of, oh, you can't talk to this person, or you can't talk to this person, or how dare you form a coalition? Well, how are you going to get things done when the whole system is, well, rigged against the average American citizen? And again, look, at this point, I encourage my viewing audience to vote how they feel like, vote third party, vote independent if you want to. But at the end of the day, break away from the narrative, the idea of, oh, we have to be in our little camps and no one should go outside the borders because it is a bad thing to do. No, we have to do it because if we remain this way, everything remains stagnant, and not only will things not fundamentally change, they'll get progressively worse. So let's talk about Freedom Fest while we still have you here, because again, we're very, very appreciative to have you on. I know there's a time difference between New York State and Illinois, so let's talk about Freedom Fest. What is going on with Freedom Fest?
Freedom Fest is going to be in Memphis, Tennessee this year. It's starting next week, July 12th through 16th. You can still get tickets if you want to go. It's freedomfest.com. Lots of cool people come to Freedom Fest. Freedom Fest is basically, it used to be in Las Vegas all the time, but then after the lockdowns, it moved to actually South Dakota. Now it went back to Vegas. Now it's in Memphis. It's all over the place every year in the summer, usually the second or third week of July. And it's where a bunch of people get together to talk about what is the new innovations on freedom and liberty. And lots of people go there. Darrell Davis will be there. Afro Man will be there. I'll be there. Lars Mapstead will be there. Mike Termat will be there. Kennedy will be there. Tons of people will be there talking about things that matter. Talking about things like Mike Rowe is going to be there. He's going to be talking about, the future of work, the future of government. Lots of people going to be there. There we go. RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be
there. Afro Man. Tulsi Gabbard. Fantastic. Matt Taibbi. It's gonna this is gonna be a who's who. All right, there's Larry Sharpe, Spike Cohen. Good. We had him on the show as well. So this looks like I don't mean to say this, but this looks like a great shindig. It
is, no doubt. I love it. I go every year. I've been there every year for the past 6 years, and I keep going. Nothing but what you're thinking of, what's the future is going to be there, right? I mean, look about that. You can see the heavy hitters who are out there, right? On the most popular rebel on the right is Vivek. The most popular rebel on the mainstream right is Vivek. The most popular rebel on the mainstream left is RFK Jr. They're both going to be there.
Well, again, looking at all the other keynote speakers there, I encourage everyone to check it out if they do have a chance. But also, I encourage anyone who has not followed Larry Sharpe's show as well. This is his show, the Sharpe Way Show. I've been on it before in the past, and I have to say a lot of the conversations that you have with your guests in regards to freedom, liberty, democracy, our current political situation here in the United States has been very thought-provoking, and I think it's important that we break down these barriers and talk to people. That's show running 101, but also I think maybe it's coalition building 101. So as a final note for this interview, for you being on my show, what do you want to say to people right now that perhaps feel like they should be, perhaps they're in the mindset of, I'm burnt out by electoral politics, I don't want to get involved. There's all this talk about third parties. There's all this talk about maybe some kind of movement, but they're still sitting on the fence. What do you want to say to people who are choosing not to be engaged in this political election cycle? Because I get why there's voter burnout, but I think we have to break that mindset so that people do get engaged and use their power as a sovereign citizen. Your comments to those people who are sitting on the sidelines.
Unless you're planning to pack up and leave the country and go someplace else, why in the world wouldn't you want to make your life better? Right now, what's happening? It's not getting better. Now, if you're in a great spot and life is awesome for you and life is great and everything's perfect, okay, maybe sit around, I guess so. You don't have kids, you don't care, life is good. But assuming that you either have children or other people in your life who aren't doing well, who you want to make better, or you want your life to be better, laying around has got you what has happened now. Supporting the two-party city has gotten you what you have now. The two-party system, I'm sorry, has gotten you where you are right now. So what should you do? Something different. You should do what you see people like me, like you, like others, like people at Freedom Fest are doing. There's a reason why all of a sudden Forward Party came out. There's a reason why No Labels came out. There's a reason like guys like me and you are talking when we weren't talking a couple years ago, right?
Mhm.
It's because this is now the time. You can see it all coming together. There's a reason why the left and right, I should say the two parties duopoly, gets so aggressive and so angry. If this was 5 years ago, they'd have paid exactly zero attention to West. No attention. It was 6 years ago, before Trump. They just actually they ignored him completely, did not know who he was, totally ignored him. Now they actively attack. They actively attack RFK Jr. They actively attack all the people who they think might break their monopoly. Why? Because now's the time, and they know it. And they hope to break our back now, and for other people to just check out so they can keep their power for the 10 to 20 years. That is their goal. Now's the time to strike. Get up, get off your ass now.
That's a great note to end it on. And as always, Larry, thank you so much for being on our show. Real quick, 2 comments from our common friend and good friend, Roger Meadows. He tipped $2 here. Loved Larry's meltdown on Robbie Pretend Libertarian.
Yes.
And then also Roger Meadows tipped $2 on Rockfin in 2014. Cuomo, your best friend,
my buddy,
used bully pulpit to force the legislator to put an amendment before the voters to allow for an independent redistricting commission for 2020 redistricting. You could do the same as Governor Larry for an amendment, so we can put our amendments before voters for ratification to the New York State Constitution. All right. Shout out again.
Here we go. Yes, he's right.
And also, Roger Meadows said this, Larry, we need the public banking panel.
On it. Freedom Fest took a lot of my time, so I will get it, Roger. I'm going to work on it, but Freedom Fest sucked up all my time, more than I thought it was going to, but I'll be done next week. I'll work on it the week after. I promise I will.
And, you know, I also made a promise to Roger Meadows that he reminded me to do as well. So shout out to Roger Meadows. If you're not following him on Twitter, I want you to have a great time at Freedom Fest. Send my regards towards Spike Cohen. I wish him all the best. I know I've had him on the show before. So take care. And more importantly, folks, if you're not following Larry Sharpe on social media, please do so. Check out his YouTube page and all of his content as well. I think we have to build coalitions. Larry, we may not politically agree with each other, but at least we could talk to each other. And I think that's a change
100%.
that could happen. So nonetheless, we are going to be continuing on with the rest of our main show. So everyone, please stay tuned. Larry, all the best to you, and knock it out at Freedom Fest. All the best to you, folks.
Bye.
Our society and our world are full of these invented and built up and contrived facades. And sometimes some people come along with a hammer and smash that facade. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade.
Welcome to the future. Shit where you please. The Wi-Fi's killer, but there's no more bees. So there's hardly any flowers, there are very few trees, and you'll pay $1,000 for some honey for your tea. But we got these awesome collars, mine's an Apple Model 3. It allows for better movement than the Tesla X Elite. It lets you customize the ads that it implants in every dream. And for premium subscribers, doesn't shock you in your sleep. But it doesn't stop there. It can analyze your speech, and if it hears disinformation, then it notifies police. It's a swift re-education, but it knocks you off your feet like your booster every 7th week. I faced the future boldly with 2 eager open eyes, and I picked a couple nuggets up that blew my fucking mind, like you can taxidermy someone while they're technically alive, and they'll shine when it's election time. See, the Democratic voter base will pay them zero. Never mind if voting for the scarecrow is a vote along their party lines. They could stare into its marble eyes and claim there's something dignified. Unlike real politicians, this one doesn't need an oxygen or kit supply. But its function is the same as those who came before. The goals are never misaligned. It still spends all its working time performing pre-recorded fleecing sessions where it sugarcoats your slow and hungry genocide, while pouring billions into Nazi coffers, all the while selling you the story that we're moments till the MiGs arrive. So fuck it, ask Zelensky if he'll help replace our leaded pipes. Watch a fleet of Penske's show stacks of bills in every size. Guess it only took a black sun and a couple hiles. Honorary goose step and some Nazi boots a quarter mile, all while Biden sneers his sordid smile. I don't know what was in this morning's vial, but it makes him stare 1,000 yards through all the prompters and the cards like he can smell the nearest child. His eyes are wide and wild, wider than the grave in which another 1,000 families were tossed in as I typed until they rose up to the sky unceremoniously piled. Which sort of flies right in the face of all this network ticker tape where the American economy has superhuman vitals.
And sometimes some people come along with a hammer.
See, I like to think my trial's gonna play like a recital. I'll denounce the world around me and accuse the most entitled, who weaponize their titles, whose pull is something title, who'd starve us all to death to best delight their blighted idol. So they might destroy the record, and I will never get to vinyl. So my word is not immortal, but it's final.
It's a brilliant, powerful hammer. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade.